As soon as people saw that, they started going berserk and trying to congratulate her and her husband. My parents were the worst. They literally started sobbing and completely forgot about me. At least some of my relatives had the good sense to stand by my side and not gather around her, because after all, it was my wedding and this was extremely inappropriate. After everyone was done congratulating her, she had the most smug look on her face when she said that we should probably get back to our wedding. I decided to call out the one person that I knew could screw all of this up for her. To be honest, I didn't even care that this was happening at my wedding, it just made things more memorable for everyone, especially my sister. So, after she said that we should probably get back to our wedding, I smiled at her and told her that I was really happy for her. This was a bit surprising for her, but then I also faked confusion and asked her to hold up because someone important was missing and the celebration was incomplete without that special someone. That was the cue for my special guest to walk into the room. I know you're waiting to find out who exactly this person is. It just so happened to be Allison's ex-boyfriend, whom she dated right before her husband. Her husband, Eric, 28, male, and she used to work together when they started dating. Before that, Allison had been with Jared. They had been living together but had a lot of relationship problems because Jared was ready to get married and Allison was not. From what I know, there was definitely an overlap because my mother told me that Allison started dating Eric 3 years ago and they have been married for 1 year now. But I have a couple of mutual friends with Jared, and they told me that he and Allison had not even broken up until almost 2.5 years back. I had calculated the timings of the two relationships last year at their wedding and concluded that there was no way there hadn't been any overlap. She had been two-timing Jared and Eric for at least 6 months. Even Jared knew about it and must have figured it out by the time she got married, but he had the good sense not to speak about it and was too kind to ruin her relationship with Eric on purpose. Back then, I also did not speak about it for the past year or even before that since I didn't think it was worth it. So, nobody realized that Allison had kind of been cheating on Eric at the beginning of their relationship. However, I didn't think there was any need for me to hide this from people anymore since she was going out of her way to create drama and seek attention, even on the day of my wedding. This is why, after the baker had contacted me to tell me about what Allison was planning, I let her go ahead with her plan and decided to contact Jared behind her back. I thought it was time that Eric found out the truth. There were also a couple of other reasons for me to go through with this thing which I didn't even know about until I spoke to Jared when I called him last week. I was skeptical about whether he would want to be part of this or not because this was just drama between Allison and me, and he really didn't need to get involved. But as soon as I told him that Allison was pregnant and was planning on announcing it at my wedding, he seemed really shocked. Apparently, she had kept in touch with him all these years. It wasn't like she had expressed her love for him or anything, but every couple of weeks, she would ask him how he was doing and what he was up to. Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have broken up with your ex and are married to somebody else, there's no need for you to keep in touch with your ex, especially when you didn't even break up with that guy until you were sure about the other one. So, she seemed to be doing very nicely, and Jared thought she was kind of leading him on. He also noticed that for the past couple of weeks, she had not contacted him, probably because of the pregnancy. He felt betrayed because she had made him feel like she still cared about him even though she was married to someone else and had given him hope. So when I told him my plan, it took a bit of convincing, but he eventually agreed to come by. When he walked into the room on the day of my wedding, Allison's smile was wiped right off her face. Everyone else who knew Jared also stopped smiling, and everything got really tense and awkward. Jared did not wait around for long and did not even beat around the bush. He walked right up to Allison, congratulated her on the pregnancy, and then told Eric that it was quite sweet of him to allow her to still keep in touch with him even though they had broken up ages ago, and that she had even been two-timing the two of them. Obviously, Eric had no idea about any of this, so he was very taken aback and didn't even know what to say. Once that was done, Jared thanked me and Jason for inviting him and then walked back out. After that, there was a few minutes of silence and then complete chaos. Eric started yelling at Allison about what he had just found out, and then the two of them stormed out. My parents started screaming at me for pulling off something as underhanded and insane as this just to get back at my sister for something so petty and small. But I wasn't interested in that, so I told them that if they didn't like what I had done, they could leave as well. And they did, along with a couple of other guests who did not seem to approve of what I had done. The people who remained were a handful of relatives and most of my friends. Thankfully, not a lot of people had left, and we were still able to carry on with the wedding as planned. It was only that my parents were not attending anymore, and honestly, at the time, I was fine with it. After all of that was done,